Last time on the FXNT Modpack, I made a railway to a new area. I also built a very basic obsidian farm, and I designed a brand new type of tree farm. But why am I underground in this hole? Because I've got a media company right above me. So before I deal with them, let's talk about what we're going to be doing today. Today I plan on continuing work on the lumber mill, adding in automatic farms for the other wood types, as well as adding in a bone meal farm to make the trees grow a whole bunch faster. But before I can get to that, hello, good morning, ow. Get you, thank you, that's dealt with you. But the other problem is all of these ones, which are actually blocking my conveyor system. Let's see what we could do here, just give you a bit of a chop. There we go. And you a bit of a chop. There we go. And then there's just you two left. If you wouldn't mind awfully just not being alive anymore, that'd be very helpful for me. And then I could determine what's gone on here. Oh, leather tried to get in my farm, did it? Right. There we go. Now all of the... Oh, no! Phantoms! Oh, jeez! Where's my bed? Run away! Run away! This is what happens when you go AFK. The phantoms are coming! Sleep, 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 sleep. Oh my God, you're so fast. Stop it. Sleep, sleep, sleep. Quick. Aha! That got you, didn't it? Ah. Anyway, now that that's all over... Oh, the Wandering Trader is here. Hello, sir. What have you got for me today? A sepia globe? Oh, all of the things No, I don't need any of that, sir. Thank you very much, though. It's a pleasure to meet you again. Anyway, now that all that fun's over, let's focus on how we're going to improve this tree farm then. It has been running overnight, just one single night, and as a result, we've got an awful lot of cherry, and we've also got an awful lot of cherry saplings, which we don't need, so we can just burn most of those, or turn them into bone meal, more importantly. And that's right, I want to create a bone meal system on here so that I'm not waiting absolutely forever for each of these trees to grow. What's stuck in it now? My goodness me. Stop sticking in my machine. I think a roof would be nice to stop things getting stuck in it, so a building around this would be a good thing to add today. And of course the machines for the 2x2 trees and the mangrove as well. So we've got a whole bunch of things to do, as well as rearranging quite a bunch of this so that I've got room out of the front to add in some decoration and more tree farming type. There's another one over there. Oh my goodness. Go to work. It's Monday. Go to work. Anyway, right. First things first. Have I got an overflow of any other type of saplings? No, it's just cherry. Apparently cherry just grows amazingly. So the other types of wood then. For that, I'm going to need a tree farm that can handle 2x2 trees, which just happens to be something I created in the last episode in my creative flat world. But this is a bit bulky. It's a bit much and I want to do it better. I'm also going to need 4 of them. 2 for dark oak, 1 for its logs and saplings and the other 1 for its leaves, and then 2 for pale oak as well. Again for saplings and 1 for leaves. So let's see how small I can make this. And I'm not going to be building it outside with this one. We're going to go into our new set of garages on this side and start building here. How hard could it be? What could possibly go wrong? Well, that didn't take long. This looks probably more complicated than the one I showed you in the other room, and that's because it probably is. It's basically almost exactly the same as one of these, but designed for a 2x2 tree instead of a single block tree. That means it needs 4 deployers underneath it to push in all of the saplings onto the dirt, and it needs 4 saws in order to chop the tree down. Just like before, we've got the saws on pistons, which will push out, chopping the tree down, putting all of the items into the barrel, which will then go down onto this conveyor and into this barrel here. Exactly the same thing happens on the other side, because the saws on this side might be the ones that end up chopping down the tree, or it could be those ones, so we need access to the barrel on both sides. Once they come to this barrel, which on my actual world will be a storage system, the saplings will be filtered out of there into an ender chest like this one here, at which point there's 1 on this side here and 1 on this side here. These have hoppers underneath which point directly into the deployers, feeding the saplings into there, and in order to get them into both hoppers, I'm using an inventory access port to take the items out the side of the ender chest into this hopper, taking them into there. And exactly the same thing is mirrored on this side. So it is a little bit bulky, but it works, as I'll now demonstrate with a little bit of bone meal. We grow the tree, it chops it down and plants the next saplings. We grow the tree, it chops it down, we plant the next saplings, and it's very nice, quick and convenient. Works perfectly. So I just need 4 of those, I guess. So the first thing I'm going to do is take a schematic of this, hop back into my actual world, and then use the schematic cannon again to determine what ingredients I need so that I can actually build it. For all of the sticky pistons and things, I need to craft up some slime, which is why I'm currently turning some wheat flour into dough in this mixer. And by duplicating some rose bushes, I can then mill those down into red dye and green dye. I can then craft that green dye into lime dye, and then I can craft that with the dough to make slime balls. That means I can craft a bunch of piston extension poles, followed by a bunch of mechanical pistons, and then using those slime balls, I can make the sticky mechanical pistons. If we're making 4 of these farms, then I'm going to need 4 smart observers, 8 inventory access ports. I also need 8 sequence gear shifts. Oh, I made 9. And 16 mechanical saws. And then I just need a bunch of relatively normal create stuff. And so it really hasn't taken me too long to get pretty much everything I need, but I need 16 deployers and I've only got 5. And deployers are expensive because they need brass hands, which are made of brass, which is made from heating up copper and zinc, which you'd think would be easy, but I've hardly got any zinc left. I've got plenty of copper though, so I'm going to make up as much as I can and hope it's enough, but I really desperately need some zinc. So bringing that down here, we're going to throw the zinc into there and the copper into there. Check I haven't left any from last time. I haven't, and then this just will spit out 1 little brass ingot at a time, and it's going to very quickly go through all of that zinc and copper. And we managed to get 44, and I have 5 deployers, so I only need 11 more. And do you know how many brass sheet that is? Well, it's 44. So that's quite convenient, really. So now I've got my 44 brass sheet. I can craft up 11 brass hands and 11 more deployers. We've got everything I need to build 4 of these big old 2x2 farms. These massively overcomplicated 2x2 farms. All of that when I could literally just have a spinning machine and grow some dark oak next to it. Why do I do this? I mean, this costs nothing. Nothing at all. But no! I don't know why I do it. Oh, look, free stuff. Now all I gotta do is figure out where I'm gonna put this, because I need to squeeze 4 of these into this tiny little area here. They don't have to be in a perfect straight line. We can use a little bit of the area in front or behind if we need to. So what I might do is bring this in line with the front one of these, so that all matches, and then the next one we'll just build back this way a bit, and then we can have 2 there and then 2 at the back there. I think that'll work. So let's get the first one blasted into the world, and then what I'll do is I'll actually build the second one with you on camera so that you can see exactly how this is built. So let's start with our 2x2 dirt, and then immediately underneath that I'm going to go under here and I'm going to pop a deployer and make it face up into that. Then I actually need to spin this round slightly so we've got the pistons coming out in the same direction. The pistons? The shafts. Then all I need to do is just duplicate that 3 more times, and then above this I'm just going to add a line of casing on either side like this to make the next step nice and easy. And the next step is just to add on our mechanical saws, ideally not facing down into the ground. That's better. And then the same thing on this side over here. And then behind each one of these, we want our sticky mechanical pistons. And behind those, we need our sticky mechanical piston pole things. Next, at the sides of each of these, we're going to throw our barrels on. And then we're going to pop down here and stick a couple of hoppers onto the deployers there and a couple of hoppers onto the deployers there. We're going to stick an ender chest there with a inventory storage access port thingy there. And exactly the same thing on this side as well. And then all we need to do is put our chute underneath the barrels, coming down a couple of blocks, and then find somewhere for our smart observer, which of course is going to sit there. Not facing that way though, because that's silly. You know, just spin round, sir. There we go. And that's going to look at this block here to see if it's a log. And if it is, it's going to give a signal to these in order to go, but we don't have any blocks for them to give a signal on. So let's just throw a couple of blocks there and a couple of blocks there. And now what I need to do is spin these mechanical pistons round so the shafts are facing downwards. Hopping back up to the top, we now need to put some redstone coming out of this observer along to the backs here of these blocks, and they're going to be connected to these sequence gear shifts, which are going to go directly under the mechanical piston. On the sides of the deployers, we're going to be having chain drives on both of those, and then we're just going to connect those to the sequence gear shifts with a vertical gearbox on both sides. And that really is this thing pretty much done, other than connecting it to power. The only thing I need to do now is actually set the settings on this. So we want the piston to pop out in one direction that way, and then we want it to basically come back again in the other direction. And if we look at how I've set the other ones up, we actually send it out for 2 seconds rather than sending the piston out by 1 meter. And that's because when it's chopping down a tree, if you set it to piston extend by 1 meter, it gets a little bit confused. So let's just adjust that slightly. We'll spin that down to time, turn this value up to 2 seconds, then make sure it's in the right direction. And then we just need to change this to piston, and we can just go back by 1 meter, and that's that done. Wonderful. I've just got to do that to the other one as well. And probably, no, they're already done because they were schematic in, so that's good. Wait, there's one thing I forgot to do. If you're building one of these, you need to make sure that these pistons are set to place only in starting position. Otherwise, you're going to have all sorts of problems. Whew, that was close. That is 2 of those little tree farmy things completely done, except for setting the filters on the ender chest, setting the filters on the observers, and connecting it to our storage system underneath. So I'm going to shove all of these components back into there, blast the other 2 into the world with a schematic cannon, and then I'll get it all connected to our storage system, which is then going to be moved so that it's in the place where I actually want it. But let's not worry about that right now. So I've been round and I've added all of the filters on for the ender chests, and I've added the filters for the dark oak. I've even added in the dark oak into our storage system at both ends for the saplings as well. But of course I don't have any pale oak yet, so I can't set that up. But what I can do is get these connected to our power system. The first thing I'm going to need to do is get rid of that and extend this belt all the way along to where our last set of chutes are, which is just there. We'll tidy that up with a little bit of casing, throw a shaft in there to get it connected again, and then I can run shafts down for each of these coming all the way to the back here, so that we can put some belts on those, and that will take the items out to where they're going. Then all we got to do is get power to these gearboxes. We only need to power one side because they are connected all the way through to the back, so we might as well do it at the middle over here. And I think the easiest way to do that would be to probably just put some shafts in between there, throw a shaft in there, and then a vertical gearbox there, and that would attach both of those farms together. And as long as this belt is moving, which it is not, so let's just solve that quickly with the gearbox there and one of those there, then yeah, that is both of those farms now moving. Excellent. That's one side done. Let's get the other side done. That's going to be exactly the same thing. So we'll just join those together, stick a shaft in there, stick one there, throw a gearbox down, put it vertical, and there we go. All 4 of them are now connected to power, and I don't see any reason why they wouldn't work. So let's test them, shall we? Oh, and go to bed and keep an eye on those guys that are still patrolling. Leave me alone, go to work. Okay, so let's test if this thing works. If I throw a log down there, they're going to come in, they're going to get broken. That one works perfectly. Let's just throw a dark oak one on there for now and test this one. And it looks like the sequence gear shifts need inverting there. They're going to lock in the outwards position, which is not ideal. So let's just pop down underneath here, flick the arrows round facing the other way on both sides. And then if I place a log again, they're going to come out, break that log, and then they'll go back. Perfect. That's what we want to see. Right, this one. This side is fine. That side did nothing because it doesn't have a piston extension pole. I guess I must have missed those off the schematics. Let's put them back again and test that again. There we go. Yep, that one works perfectly. And I'm going to assume this one is going to act the same as that one. Let's just find out. No, this one worked. Okay, so it was just the one I did that was the wrong way around. Wonderful! It all works! We've got a tree farm for every different type of wood except for mangrove and bamboo, if you count that. And those are going to be added into a completely separate system, probably around the back here somewhere, where those guys are. The job dodgers. Go to work! Before I start adding in the mangrove and the bamboo farms to this, though, let's go get some pale oak. And looking at my map, there isn't really anywhere nearby that there is some. But if you remember from the very first episodes of this series, I was looking at a full world map of this world, and we know exactly where there was some. And here it is. Here's a world map of the main area of this world, and if we zoom down by this lake, just south of it, you'll see there is a pale garden. Now, we are just up here. Right there is where we built this lumber mill, so we really don't need to go that far to get there. Before we go there, however, there are a couple of things I want. One of those will be my chainsaw, so we can chop down a bunch of pale oak trees. And the other thing is going to be a diamond hoe ready for collecting all of the goodies from the trees and the moss and stuff. And seeing so I've got a few levels, why don't I pop downstairs and see if I can throw some enchantments on this? I mean, I'd really like Silk Touch. Silk Touch, literally my favorite, bro. Fortune 3, great. The opposite of Silk Touch. Oh well, right, let's go. Well, I've found the Dark Oak Forest, and there should be a Pale Garden within this somewhere. I'm just not 100% sure where. I should probably throw on my mini-map and potentially stop to look at the actual map. But, we've got a little village over there. Got some nice spruce forests over there. And another little village over there. But I'm not seeing a Pale Garden just yet. I believe I'm going in the right direction. Oh, could it be on top of that mountain? It is! It's there! I found it. Excellent. It's not very big, but it's big enough for me. Oh, look. Ah, things I haven't got yet. Many of them. Normal moss. That's very handy to have. We'll grab a bit of that. And let's grab a few glowberries while we're here as well, because they're also very handy to have. No, we didn't get loads, but that should be plenty to get going with. And I think I'm going to take a couple of these nice looking flowers as well. These are very good for ambience and things, aren't they? But that's not what we came for. What we came for is this place. And I guess we'll start by just digging a whole bunch of the pale moss out, because it's always very useful to have. And if I go around with my shears, I can get a bunch of leaves and vines and things, so that'll be nice. But of course, the thing we really want are the trees. So as usual, I'm going to just clear out those blocks there, throw down my chainsaw, and then just give it a shove. And that should get me a whole bunch of pale oak and saplings as well. Amazing. Do this a couple more times, even though I don't really need to, because I have a farm for this now. And with this last one, that should be absolutely plenty to get going on with. Wonderful. Let's shove all of that in there, pick it up, and see if we can't go and get another wood type that I'm missing. Although this wood type's going to be significantly more difficult because it requires a swamp, or more specifically a mangrove swamp, and there are no swamps anywhere on my seed map. And while I could just spend a whole bunch of time just traveling and wandering about aimlessly in hopes to find one, I'm not going to do that because they're very rare and my time's valuable. So the normal thing to do in this circumstance would be to type in seed in the commands to get your world seed, click to copy that to the clipboard, and then head over to somewhere like Chunkbase, where you could then put your seed in, make sure you're on the right version of Java Edition, and then you can just search for the biomes that you want to find, and then go, there's actually one not too far away. Look, there's that big lake and there's the mangrove swamp. That's ideal, but it's not ideal. Because this is not a vanilla world. This uses the tectonic mod in order to create all sorts of fun and interesting types of terrain generation, like that underwater cave we're in. Or should I say the underwater river? The underwater river? Underwater cave? What am I talking about? This doesn't happen in Java Edition normally. You don't normally get rivers, underground river. That's the word I'm looking for. Right, anyway, so I can't do that. I can't use a seed finding tool or a biome finding tool to find out where I want to go. But there is a way I can do it, but you'll all hate me for doing it. One way would be to add another mod to this mod pack, something like Nature's Compass, where I could make a little compass, tell it what biome I wanted to find, and it would literally give me the coordinates for where I needed to go. Very handy, very useful. But other than using it maybe once or twice in an entire Let's Play, it's pretty useless. So I didn't see the point in adding an entire mod into a Let's Play that's just for me, for something I might use once. Oh look, there's another pale garden there and it's even bigger. That was probably the one from the map. So the way I think is the best to do it on my single player world with just me here, without installing mods that, you know, cost a lot of performance, without using chunk finders online and things like that, is to use a built-in function that already exists. And that function is basically just a command, locate biome mangrove swamp, and if I run that and there's one close enough, it should pop up in the chat and tell me about it. Oh dear, it could not find a biome of type mangrove swamp within a reasonable distance. Well, that was a waste of time, wasn't it? So technically I haven't cheated, you can't shout at me in the comments, so I'm going to use another method. And that method is to start this world all over again. Well, at least in a creative copy of this world. It's the same world, it's where I started, but nothing has happened in it yet. It is a clean world where I can do whatever I want because it's not the world that I'm actually playing on. What I do here has no effect on survival, so therefore I can teleport around all over the place and keep running that locate biome command without you guys being able to tell me off. I wouldn't do that in my actual survival world. I do consider that too cheaty, but I'm happy to do it in creative. No biomes over here. Let's go to the other end of the map. Run it again. Not within a reasonable distance. Not within a reasonable distance. Not within a reasonable distance. Now, looking at the map, you can see I've teleported all the way around this world. I've even run it from all of the corners of this world. And there are no mangrove swamps within a reasonable distance anywhere. And that means there's literally only one more thing I can do to get what I need, and that is rely on somebody that I despise. Somebody who makes my life difficult every time they turn up in my world to taunt me with their llamas. I am, of course, talking about the Wandering Trader, who can have an opportunity to sell mangrove propagules, but I've not seen them yet. So back on the world for now, I guess that means that this is going to be a wood farm that doesn't produce mangrove wood. And that's absolutely fine, because that would have been a separate system anyway. So now that I'm back, let's just pop our little chainsaw down, get our pale oak saplings and our logs. I'm going to strip one of those logs so that I can create a little drawer in my drawer system for strip logs, put the other logs in there, and of course come and put the saplings in there. Then I can put that on there to allow those saplings out and into our machine. And then I just need a couple of these pale oak logs to come and put on the filters for the observers. Now, of course, at this point, this tree farm is still not finished. And that's because for this section here, I want to be able to harvest the leaves from the trees that grow. And I also want to be able to do it for these two here, mainly because they're in line with those ones. And I can create a contraption that will do all of them. That is going to involve a whole bunch of harvesters, which I'm hoping I'm going to be able to craft up here without having to go back to the workshop again. I can craft 15. So I'm out of andesite alloy again? And I'm out of andesite. Do you know what? I think this might be a good time to go mining. For goodness sakes, back to the workshop again. Before I go mining, however, I want to use some of the ridiculous amount of XP that I've been generating from my blaze farm over there. I've got 6,000 nuggets of it to try and get a decent enchantment on this new diamond pickaxe. I just want a little bit of efficiency and ideally some unbreaking, but what I really want is fortune. Not silk touch, not this time. Efficiency 4 and unbreaking, not too bad. Let's make another one. Eat some more experience. See if I can't get fortune 3. I cannot, but I have now got efficiency 5 with unbreaking, so that's pretty good. Let's grab a couple of books, eat some more experience, and see if I can't get fortune 3 on here. Piercing, I don't want piercing. Yay, I got it! On another pickaxe, because I was having absolutely no luck with the books. And as you can see, I used a lot of nuggets of experience. I've only got 4,600 of them now. That was boring. I need librarians desperately. But not right now. Right now, I need to combine these two things into an efficiency 5 unbreaking 3 pickaxe. I'm also wondering, can I put respiration on goggles? I cannot. I can put it on my helmet though, and I can put depth strider on my boots. Lovely. Now I can go mining. Now the best levels to get zinc ore are between -63 and 70 in its uniform height distribution, which means it's the same at any level between those. So basically anywhere in the world apart from high up in a mountain. So as long as we go down a bit, we'll get andesite and zinc, which is exactly what I need. And it looks like there's a patch of andesite down here, so why don't we just start here? Let's just throw down some track, throw down our tunnel bore, give it a nudge, and then I'm just going to sort of be stuck between it for a while, I guess. Oh, geez. Let me out. There we go. And there we go. Look, we have zinc ore, and now that I've got my fancy Fortune 3 pickaxe, when I break it, I get more than one, which means I can absolutely go ham on all of this ore that's in the walls, get in plenty of zinc when I, like, turn it into actual zinc. Uh-oh. I appear to have reached outside. I was just planning on letting this thing go until it was, well, it ran out of space. But, yeah, I've reached the river. Oops. I guess we can't go in that direction anymore. Good news, though. While I've been coming along here, I have managed to gather not just that amount of raw copper. I've got over 1,000 of it and 217 zinc, which isn't too bad. But I think we could do with a bit more. So why don't we just head back in this direction? Get even more. Well, you don't see this every day in the mines. A gathering of 3 emerald block ore things. And yet again, more silverfish. This is the problem with mining under a mountain. It's a never-ending supply of silverfish. We have come an awfully long way, and we're nearly back at the start now, which is good because pretty much every single one of the chests is full on the back of this thing now. If we take a look at it, it has got a little bit of copper, zinc, and iron in there. Well, not much because I've taken most of it out. Will you stop? Oh my goodness. Stop it. Why? There we go. After collecting everything out of the chest, we've got over 3,500 copper, 558 zinc, and 27 raw iron. Let's go get it processed, which of course means feeding it all into my crushing wheels. While this is processing, I've emptied out all of the andesite from the tunnel bore, giving us around about 3,500. So now I can get that processed into the andesite alloy. So I'm just going to chuck 27 stacks of it in there and all the iron ingots in there. And now we will generate a whole bunch of andesite alloy. And while the rest of that copper is getting crushed, I'm going to take all of the other stuff and get it washed, because washing it generates a whole bunch more stuff than cooking it. Oh geez, the thing's it's already full. Jeez. Oh no, I've just picked there's too many things. Quick, put some back in here. And finally, everything is finished washing. My andesite is coming through in here, and I managed to get not just one lot of 8,192 copper nuggets, but nearly 4 of them, and a whole bunch of zinc as well. And I'm not just going to manually craft that into ingots. That'd take forever. I'm going to use my brain. What brain? Shush you. All I need is a set of compacting drawers, which I can put there, a smart chute, which I can put there, and a copper nugget, which I can put there. And then all I'm going to do is stick my backpack onto the wall there, and that's just going to feed all of those blocks of copper or the copper nuggets into that, and then I can just take out the blocks. And there we go. All of the copper nuggets are gone from the backpack, giving us a total of 390 blocks of copper. Now I'm going to change that filter for the zinc nuggets, take the rest of that stuff out of there, and let that all process into there. And this time I don't want the blocks, I just want the ingots, 559 of them. And let's just shove all of those in there apart from one stack, take a stack of copper, and go and make some brass. Assuming my andesite alloy's finished, which it hasn't. Still got loads to go. I guess I'll just add it to the queue. And now I've got 8,000 nuggets of experience. Profit! That's literally just from, like, crushing down those ores. But anyway, that's all finished now. I've got a full barrel's worth of andesite alloy, plus 2 stacks of brass ingots. Nice! I can finally make those harvesters and get that tree farm finished. In order to get the leaves from these trees once they're grown, I need to use these harvesters to basically come along once the trees have grown along the leaf line and basically harvest the leaves. But ideally, I'd like to do that from above the trees. If I had harvesters that went down every time a tree grew and then just harvested the leaves that way, it would be a lot easier and it would look a lot nicer. But unfortunately, harvesters don't work vertically, or at least they don't stick vertically. They can only stick on the side of a block. I guess I could do something like this and have them going up and down that way. As you can see, when they're moving, they do spin, which means they will harvest the leaves. But the problem with doing that is I can't have the harvesters stuck to each other, which means what I'd have to do is build out some blocks like this, get rid of that one, have that one facing that way, and then I guess if I got rid of that, I could have one. No, I can't have one facing that way. I can't stick harvesters to each other. So the next thing I'd have to do would be to have one there, and then to have one there. And I assume I can glue these together like this? No, I can't. They have to have a block behind them. The advantage of doing it horizontally, however, is that I can actually have all of the harvesters next to each other, meaning that they'll be able to harvest all of the leaves that these are connected to. Now, if I just glue that back panel together there and put my crank on there, when I push it, all of them are going to go together. And then when I bring it back, they don't actually harvest anything on the way back, but they'll have already harvested on the way out. So first things first, what I'm going to do is actually build a line of industrial iron out along the front of all of the ones that I want harvesting. This is basically going to be a track for the minecart to be able to run up and down. And then I'm going to build that too wide because I don't actually want it touching any of that. It doesn't matter if it touches any of that, but it's going to make it very difficult for me to get to things like the sequence gear shifts. At each end of this, I'm going to put a block, and then I'm going to put some control rail down there, and then just some powered rail all the way along to the other end. Then I need to pop down my minecart assembler, throw out a block to the side to make it easy to deal with this, because this is going to need to be on locked rotation. Then I can throw my minecart in there and start building the harvesting system. which is just this, a wall of harvesters on some girders. That's just going to sit there, and when a tree is detected, we'll have this come along here harvesting all of the leaves. But at the moment, it's got nowhere to store the leaves, so we're going to need a barrel on this contraption as well as a way to get the items off again. And for that, we're going to use this portable storage interface. That's going to sit on the side of that there and face downwards. And then directly below it, we're going to put a couple of blocks and put another one facing upwards. Now, when this becomes a contraption, those things will connect, and I can then just take the items straight out onto that belt and they'll go in the storage system. This block here, I'll just switch out for a barrel because that's nice and easy. And then all I got to do is glue those things together. That's all glued together. So that thing's effectively ready to go. Okay, I've moved that back a little bit. I've moved the portable storage interface so it's back in line. I've extended the belt and thrown a funnel on there, so that's all ready to go. Next, I need to power the actual power rail to allow it to bounce backwards and forwards along this line, and then I need to find a way to activate this controller rail when a tree's been detected, which of course we're already detecting. Each one of the tree farms has got an observer on it, which is detecting when a tree has grown. So I need a way to join all of these observer signals together so that if any of them fire, this thing's going to be set off. For now, let's just focus on powering this powered rail, which I could do just by throwing some levers underneath it. Now that's all powered. And in order to connect all of the observers together, I'm going to need some redstone links. And then all I'm going to do is stick one of these redstone links on the back of every single one of these observers. And I'm going to give them all the double oak sapling filter. And then all I need to do is come over here, and on this block here, add another one with the oak sapling filters and put that in receive mode. And now anytime any one of those detects that there is a tree grown, this should set off and harvest the leaves, but it won't, because the tree will get cut down before the leaves have been harvested, particularly if it's one of these over here. So now what I got to do is find a way to delay the saws coming out so that the tree doesn't get chopped down before the leaves have been harvested. And that's actually really easy, albeit excruciatingly painful to do, because it means I've got to sit here with all of these sequence gear shifts and move everything down a line, which means I've got to put it all back together again the way it already is, but one line down. And it's not like I can even copy and paste this and stick it on another one. And then at the top, oh no, so I changed the top one, they all get deleted. Now I can't remember which way round it's supposed to go. We'll put it on a 2-second delay. Then we'll do turn for an amount of time for 2 seconds. Then we'll do piston back 1 meter. That should do that. And there we go. That's all of those now changed over. So now it's time to actually test this thing's going to work. So let's grow this oak tree. There we go. That gets triggered first. That comes all the way across and then it chops the tree down. That's perfect. Look at that. It worked perfectly. Now I just got to wait for some actual trees to grow. Oh, there we go. One's actually grown and it got leaves. It did it. Then it chopped the tree down and the leaves have come out there and they're coming into here. Oh, it's incredible. So incredible. Music just started playing. It's this fellow down here, my celebratory skeleton friend. He must have known. He must have been able to sense it from all the way down there. Anyway, right now what we need to do is grab these acacia leaves that has just been harvested and find them a little box on here. Yeah, that one. There we go. Lovely. Oh, can't believe it works. Now I just need to speed this entire thing up with a big old bone meal farm. And for that, I'm going to need skeletons. Or more importantly, skeleton spawners. Fortunately for me, however, this time, the tectonic mod that affects world generation doesn't affect the position of monster spawners that are, well, spawned into the world when the world generates. That means I can use chunk base to find the location of the spawners, but unfortunately, the type of spawners that it shows is wrong. So even though I might know the location of where to find the spawners, when I start digging to find them, I'll quite often find the wrong one. So I've made a list of a whole bunch of spawners and now I've just got to go and find them. So that means I need to equip my minimap, and the first one I'm going to be heading over is at 29 by 647, which is in this direction. As you watch this montage, I want to take a minute to explain why I'm using chunk base to find these monster spawners, instead of just taking my time to find them naturally during my mining missions over time. If this was my personal survival world, and not a world dedicated to making content, I'd take my time, enjoy the full process, and find spawners organically just like anyone else. I wouldn't need to take shortcuts. But this world isn't for me. It's for content. And YouTube has changed. Minecraft content has been oversaturated for a long time, so creators have to work harder for every video they make in order to make something that stands out from the rest. Organic, slow progression just doesn't work anymore, because viewer habits have also shifted towards faster-paced content. And as well as that, Minecraft Let's Play series have a very limited lifespan. After a certain point, really just 10 to 16 videos in, they naturally decline in viewership, bringing in fewer new viewers and fewer new subscribers. And that means that every episode I make has to be as tightly packed with engaging progress as possible. And viewers expect that progress quickly. If I miss a single upload, it doesn't take long for the comments and posts on my social media to start coming in asking why I'm late or where's my video. And on top of that, having subscribers no longer guarantees views like it used to. Your homepage now on YouTube is mostly driven by discovery, meaning that my videos have to not only compete with the channels that you're subscribed to, but all of the rest of YouTube as well that YouTube thinks you might want to watch. So to stand out, my builds have to be bigger, my machines more impressive, and my progress has to be so fast that you just really wouldn't be able to do it in a true survival world. And I have to do all that just to produce high enough quality content fast enough to not be left behind and forgotten. And don't forget, this is my job. It pays my bills and supports my family, so I literally can't afford to be forgotten. But if there's a commonly used and generally accepted way to cut a lengthy, time-consuming process down by even just a small amount, I'll consider it, just in order to skip through the boring stuff so I can pack in more interesting content and get it out to you as quickly as I can. If it was up to me, though, I would love to go back to the days of making a series 100 episodes long, putting out daily videos where I just hit record, waffle on for 20 minutes and do some minimal editing so you can see the entire journey of my time in this world from start to finish. But the reality is, I can't do that. I'm governed by the algorithm. I have to stand out, I have to upload regularly, and I have to make each video as engaging as possible just to survive as a creator. And before you start blaming YouTube for the algorithm, remember, you are the algorithm. Your viewing habits shape the platform. YouTube simply follows what keeps people watching. So when you see that progress fly by in one of my videos, just remember, it's not me rushing my way through the game to cut corners and just focus on the bits I enjoy most. It's me racing the clock to get this content out to you as quickly as I can. Well, I'm not going to lie, this does feel a little bit cheaty. I've got way more than I wanted because it took me absolutely ages to find any with skeletons in. And I think we've got 4 in total with skeletons in. We've got a whole bunch of zombie ones and a whole bunch of spider ones. And I wasn't planning on building a full-on mob farm, but I pretty much could with these. And with very little to no effort at all, I could get a whole bunch more. That's because, according to you guys in the comments, these pillager pirate ships and airships are absolutely riddled with pillager spawners. So I could just come along to this ship over here before they've got a chance to spawn. Look, there's one just there and grab it. And now we've got a pillager spawner as well. This just feels silly. But yes, we've now got a pillager spawner. And I could get a whole bunch more of those. But like I say, I wasn't planning on building a mob farm today. I just want a skeleton farm. Now I want to build this relatively close to the tree farm so that it can all be part of the same building, and I'm thinking probably at the back here would be a good place for it. And of course it'll probably look like most spawner farms, and that is basically a big old box to allow them to spawn and fall down onto something that's going to kill them and collect their things. And for that thing to kill them, I could really do with another villager, because I'm going to need a sword capable of mending itself. There we go. Let yourself in, sir. Wait, come back. No. I said let yourself in, not let yourself out. Okay, I've put the villager where he should be relatively safe. But now what I need to do is figure out how I'm going to get him to change his job. Because he's not leveled up at all, so he should get a new job. But he doesn't seem to want to be a librarian, which is it's a bit annoying. Can you be a librarian? Oh, you've got a bed, look. This bed just for you, sir. Would you like it somewhere else? Perhaps you'd like it there. Perhaps you'd feel more at home with your friends in the other room. If I take you into the barn, sir, you can stand right at the end here. Does that make you feel any better? Here's your job, sir. There you go. Now you've got a job. Now the other chaps all liked it when I put a bed on the floor. It made them want a job. Why don't you want a job? Get a job. Well, I can only assume that this villager is broken, so I'm going to leave him to it for a bit and go get another one. Where are all your friends? Don't tell me they've all been eaten. There can't have just been 4 villagers here and I've stolen them all. Ah, there's a fisherman.
I don't want to be a librarian. I like being a fisherman.
Tough. I need librarians, and all of your friends are gone.
You could go to a different village.
No. Why won't anyone get a job? Has the other guy changed yet? Oh, you've changed. Finally, sir. Hello. What do you sell? No, I need you to sell mending. Oh, this is going to take a while, but at least he's doing it. What are you piercing? Rubbish. I'll be back in a minute. A minute indeed. It took me like 8 rolls and we've got mending. You, sir, need some emeralds and I need some books. Paper. I can make paper out of flax. Don't forget your job. I'll be back in a minute. And so just a little while later, I brought my villagery friend downstairs. And yes, he sells mending and I've bought lots of them. I've also brought him some more friends who are all now librarians, who wouldn't change at first, but the reason was because I had barrels and workstations everywhere, so I swapped all of the barrels round here out for chests, removed all of the workstations, got them all rolled, which took absolutely forever, and now what we've got is Smite 5, very good against the undead, i.e. skeletons, Looting 2, because I couldn't get Looting 3 after a very long time, but I can combine 2 of those to make Looting 3, and we've also got Unbreaking 3. And that means I've been able to make this netherite sword, which has Smite 5, Looting 3, Unbreaking 3, and Mending. Perfect for a skeleton spawner farm. I also managed to get Mending on my pickaxe, as well as my shovel as well. But I didn't bother with my armor because it's pretty rubbish. With a very nice sword all enchanted, it was time to go and start building the kill box that I'd be using to kill all of those skeletons. I started with a 9x9 box of assorted tough blocks, blended that into a little bit of weathered iron and industrial iron, and then I added a bunch of conveyors into the bottom to move all of the skeletons from anywhere they landed inside the kill box over into a corner where they could be killed. And they would be killed by a deployer holding that amazing sword, which would chop them to bits, and then all of their items would flow out onto the existing conveyor line that's already attached to my tree farm. All I had to do next was modify the storage system to allow for all of the new items, put the roof onto the kill box, and then add in all of the spawners, which meant it was finished and ready to go. And there we have it. One very basic but very effective skeleton spawner farm, generating me a whole bunch of bones and XP as well. Now, it technically could generate armor for me and bows and quivers and all that sort of stuff, but I decided it was a good idea just to burn that off. So here we go. We're getting a whole bunch of bones through, we're getting more XP through, and I am at the moment keeping the arrows. But of course, we're not finished here yet. I wanted a bone meal farm, and at the moment, all we've got is bones. In order to turn those bones into bone meal, I either need to crush them down or process them through a millstone, and I then need to pipe it through into the tree farm to make these trees grow nice and fast. But before I do any of that, I want to build this tree farm. As in, I want to put a building around it and make it look nice and tidy and beautiful. So that's exactly what I'm going to do now. Another time lapse. Yep, I know, we just had one and you're getting another one because I'm sick of looking at this like this with this big ugly box in it, all right? There we go. That is a massive building. It's a little bit on the plain side in certain places, but it's so huge it's taken me absolutely hours to build, and I'm happy enough with it. It does the job, it does exactly what I need it to do, and it looks like an industrial building. Perfect. We've got a little lumber yard outside where we've got some of the chopped wood, signifying that this is indeed a lumber mill. We've got a garage door for that wood to have been brought out to be put out here, and then of course we've got our little control center in here. In here we've got all of the different wood types which I've moved across to here, and then here we've got our bones coming in, 21,000 of them, a whole bunch of XP, and of course now we've got a blank drawer here, and that blank drawer has a funnel underneath it going into fire, burning off anything that comes into the system that doesn't fit, like all of the armor from the skeletons, all of the arrows, and anything that overflows in here as well. Now, I do want to be able to get to a point where I'm actually composting leaves, because as you can see, we're actually overstocked in the cherry leaves significantly. We haven't backed up in any of the others yet, but around the back of here, all of those are actually being ejected out through these access ports into these chutes and into their respective ender chest, which again, apart from the cherry, have not filled up at all because they're all being used in the tree farm. And speaking of the tree farm, that hasn't changed at all. It is exactly the same as what we had before, and it has been run overnight. As you saw, we've got 21,000 bones, and all of that now needs crushing down into bone meal. And in order to do that, we've got a little bit of space over here, but we've got even more space over here. And seeing as though this is right near our storage drawers, I thought we'd set up a little milling system to do that. For this, we need a belt that's around about 5 blocks long. We need a millstone in the middle, and at each end, we're going to have some storage trim with an inventory access port on top. I'm then going to dig down underneath here and link this trim up to the existing storage system. We'll put a brass funnel on there, an andesite funnel on there. We'll need an andesite funnel going into the millstone, another one coming out the back, tidy it all up a bit, and then all it needs is power. For that, I'm just going to stick a shaft into here and then connect that across to there, and then all I need to do is connect this. So let's just throw a cog there, stick another shaft there, and then if I stick a vertical gearbox in there, that's all going to be connected. But why are my bones not coming out? Of course, I actually need to connect this trim all the way across to the other side as well. So let's do that and see if it works. And now all of the bones are going to get processed into bone meal, filling up our bone meal box, which has a few upgrades in it, and we are voiding off as well, just in case we get too full. So that's great. Now what I need to do is actually get that bone meal into each one of these systems to use it to grow the trees faster. And for that, I'm going to need a lot of dispensers or deployers. I think dispensers would be easier. And what we'll be able to do here is just have the dispensers firing into the sapling. We could even probably put them above the ender chest there like that to save a little bit of space. Then we can put a redstone link on them to make them fire so that each one doesn't need its own little redstone circuit. And then all we got to do is somehow try and get bone meal into them. And I could just link up the storage network to each one of these, but then they'd need to be in a bit of a better place for that. So I think being next to the observer's no good. They would definitely need to go there, and then we could have the opposite one there. And then for each one, we could just have some chutes coming out of the floor that connect to a conveyor system underground and a fan system to blow the bone meal up into the dispensers. And by doing that, it should mean I don't actually need any of these conveyors here at all, because if we're going to be having our storage system running all the way across the underneath of this thing, every single one of these tree farms might as well just spit out directly into the storage system rather than requiring these belts to carry everything across. And so slowly but surely I'm getting somewhere. I've got the storage trim coming all of the way down here, and then we've got these inventory access ports spitting out one bone meal at a time, which is then getting pushed up through these chutes, and that should be going into these dispensers. Here it is. And the reason I've only got one going at a time is just so that these things evenly fill, although for some reason this one is full of oak logs, and I'm assuming that's because I didn't put filters on, but I did put filters on, so I've no idea how that's managed to happen. That's very weird. Why are you getting oak logs? So that's basically connected to these funnels, which should be taken in from here. That's got bone meal in it, but this one has oak logs. And every time I take them out, it takes more oak logs. So I can only assume that this funnel is somehow taken out of the inventory access port directly below it, which you shouldn't do because it's coming down at an angle into that one. But anyway, You get the point. And I've still got a lot of work to do. Mainly because it's going to be impossible to put dispensers onto our dark oak and our pale oak ones. I'm not putting dispensers on every single one. I'm only putting it on the ones that are generating as saplings, not the ones designed for leaves. And that's so we do get an excess of saplings so that we can keep making the ones that's getting us leaves. That means I want the dispensers on these ones as well. But if I put the dispensers here facing into these saplings, then the barrels can't move, i.e. the saws can't come out to chop the trees down. And if I put it on this side, then it's going to be interfering with this redstone signal. But the worst part is, I've got nowhere to get the bone meal into them. And I don't want to build above these because building above the sapling height means that the trees will struggle to grow. So I've got some thinking to do on those. But for now, I need to focus on what's causing this problem over here. Rather than having everything below, what I can actually do is use these item drains directly between these dispensers, creating basically a bridge between one side and the other. That means that this one will end up filling up first, or this one, depending on which side I fill in from. And as long as we fire the dispensers slower than the bone meal can come in, then we should be absolutely fine with all of that. And I've decided to fill in from this end just because there's more space. And this time, if I send out more than one at a time, because we're actually going to be filling 3 dispensers, I'll send 3 at a time out of each of these. That's enough to keep each dispenser going, and all we've got to do is fire the dispensers slower than we're sending the items out of there. And there we go. We can see all of the bone meal coming through into all of those sets of dispensers now. I'm hoping that just having the links on one dispenser will fire the other one. If not, we just need a dot of redstone on each of those. None of these trees have grown, though, while I've been doing this, which is slightly concerning. But now it's time to set up that timer, so let's just come into this corner, throw down a timer. Let's for now just put that on every 3 seconds, throw down a redstone link, give it the same signal output and see what happens. Are these going to fire? It did, and it grew. Okay, that's a little bit slow, but both sides are firing, which is wonderful, and that one's just grown. Amazing. Now what I need to do is reconnect these to our storage system, because currently these are all just storing everything up in these barrels. They've got nowhere to go. And there we go. Everything is now connected back into the storage system, and that means we should be getting a whole bunch of wood through there now. So let's go and check it all out. And we're down to 14,000 bones. And it looks like we are actually using bone meal faster than we're using it, but that's probably because those dispensers are still filling up, so I'll keep my eye on that. And if it turns out it is too slow, then I'll just swap that millstone out for a couple of crushing wheels and that'll sort that problem out. And I think with the rate that we're bringing bone meal in here, we could probably speed this up a little bit. Let's just turn that up to 2 seconds instead, or maybe even 1 second. Let's put it on 1 second to see how we get on. It's working. All I need to do is somehow figure out how I'm going to do it on this one. But yes, I definitely think we're going to need crushing wheels here. So let's just get rid of that for now. Pick up these bones so they're not all in the way. Get rid of that and that and that. Jeez. And then we can just add a crushing wheel on there. And another one on there. Pop that back on there. Give it a filter and then reconnect it. And now we'll be crushing bones very quickly. Lovely. Oh yes, that's much quicker. Now we're burning through our bones in no time. Excellent. And don't forget, if the bone meal runs out, the trees will still grow naturally anyway, so we're not actually just reliant on the bone meal. This tree farm will work regardless, and it's wonderful. Right, anyway, bone meal for these ones. Let's see what ideas I can come up with. I think I've figured it out. I think I'm nearly there. What I've got is the 2 dispensers on each side of this. We've got some item drains in the middle, which are going to be sending our bone meal across to there. But of course, if I do that, they're just going to fall off the other side. They're not going to go into those. And I can't put a funnel there and on there. However, thanks to the Create Connected mod, I think there's a block that'll fix this, and that is the inventory bridge. Now, I know this works to get items out of 2 inventories at once, but I'm assuming it's going to work in reverse. Let's find out. If I pop that on there between those 2, it's gone red to signify it is connected on both sides. If I put a funnel going into there, can I then get the bone meal out and will it push it into both? Let's find out. Let's just connect the oak trim from there, bring it up here until it's connected with that, and we should hopefully see the bone meal going in, and it's only going into 1 for some reason. And I am sending through 2 at a time. What happens if I send through 64 at a time? No, it goes into 1 first, And then I guess it's going to do the other. Yeah, so it will. That's a little bit annoying, but at least it works. And that means all we've got to do is get a redstone signal onto these. So let's stick a redstone link in the middle. Hopefully that's not going to cause this a problem. Stick a sapling on there and some bone meal on there. And now that's going to start getting the signal. It is kicking it out of both sides. It is locking that on and off, but that shouldn't be a problem. It should still take bone meal in from this, which it is doing. Excellent. And now our tree has grown. But it didn't get chopped down because I've probably broken all of this stuff. Yeah, this one's broken. It did nothing. You useless. Let's try that again. There we go. Lovely. The tree went down. Oh, and it grew straight away again. I've not seen a dark oak one come yet, so let's just hope one of those are going to grow. Hopefully, there's nothing in the way to stop it growing. It could be this lantern here. Yeah, the dark oak does not look like it. Oh, it grew. It worked. But I am going to move that lantern. Wow, and then it worked immediately. Jeez, we've got a fully functional wood farm for all of the different wood types, except mangrove. But let's not talk about mangrove. But look at that. We're even getting big trees in here because this building's so big. We're getting tons of wood now. It really isn't going to take long to AFK here to get a ridiculous amount of wood. And that's exactly what I'm going to do.